Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I have my new reading glasses because I have lost my clear reading glasses. Well, I mean, they're clear, obviously, because you can see through them, but my clear, framed glasses, I don't know where I put them. I put them down somewhere in here, and I can't find them. So I bought these, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 months ago, and I haven't really worn them very much. I have to say they're not super comfortable, but I really do like the horn rims on them. So I was like, well, I guess I'll start wearing these and try to get used to them. I have reading glasses next to my computer. I have them in the bathroom. I have 2 pairs next to my bed. I have a pair in the bathroom, upstairs. I have them everywhere. I have them outside on my little table. I have reading glasses everywhere, and I guess it's a sign that you're getting older when you need to have reading glasses everywhere. But anyway, I brought the 2 Melody Beatty books with me today. I haven't even looked at them to see what the topics are. So I'm going to look at them right now, and we can see which one we will read first. Let's see, May 19th. This is from the language of letting go, and it's solving problems. And then in the Journey to the Heart, let's see what it says. Oh, I pulled it right up into May 18th. May 19th, don't be afraid of making mistakes. I like that one. Let's read that one first. Okay, May 19th, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Don't be so afraid of making a mistake. That energy can create more mistakes. It can stop us from enjoying what we're doing. It can block us from creating freely and making something beautiful. Sometimes it's necessary and important to make mistakes, to fumble around and do something poorly so we can learn to do it better next time. No matter what we're doing or what we're learning, we have to start somewhere. Look back at the past. We learned by trying, stumbling, falling, getting back up, and trying again. But we wouldn't be where we were, but we wouldn't be where we're at if we hadn't begun where we were. Jump in, begin, and do the task as best as you can. Stop worrying about mistakes and let yourself do it as well as you can right now. If you do it wrong or poorly, you can do it over again. And when you do it in an attitude of love, you won't fail. You'll learn something new about yourself, life, and the task. Love yourself enough to try. Let yourself make mistakes. Tell yourself you don't have to do it perfectly. Let yourself have fun while you're learning. Start where you are and do what you can. Learning and getting better will happen from there. You may not always know the best way in the beginning, but if you keep trying, you'll quickly learn to tell when you're on track. I really like this meditation, and I've said this on here quite a bit in other videos that I've done, but I don't believe, when I look back on my life, there may be a few instances where I have learned how to do something by being successful at it the first time. But very, very rarely. Typically, I learn how to do something by making, whether it's folding a towel or cooking, which I'm not very good at, or just, even anything that you can think of. I typically learn from making a mistake the first time, or the second time, or the third time, or the 9th time, or the 11th time, or whatever, right? I typically learn from the mistakes that I've made. And the mistakes that I have made have allowed me to grow over time and be a different person. And so I've had to really be open, and this is something that I learned a while ago, and I don't feel bad about today. I've had to be open to allowing myself to make mistakes and not beat myself up about it. Interestingly enough, because it talked about, you're not always going to be perfect or something like that. So for those of you, I don't know if you remember, but I was in this book group, recovery book club, well, not really book club, book study group, on Monday nights during when the lockdown happened, and then for the next 2 years. And we would meet every Monday night on Zoom and whatever. And now a lot of the people have gotten busy, so it's just kind of falling apart, so we don't do it anymore. But I loved it. It was fantastic. And we would read some literature, and then we would comment on it, and each of us would go around, and we would just kind of share our experience, strength, and hope about that, right? And one of the things that we were talking about, we were reading a recovery book, recovery literature called Drop the Rock, which is about character defects. And in there, it was addressing perfection. And I can remember it came to me, and I said something about Like I always am driven to be a perfectionist. And I think that part of it for me is like I would always, like when I was a little kid, like set my stuffed animals up and like it had to be in a perfect row, you know, and my bed had to be made a certain way and everything. And I think what I know now looking back was that it was this tireless need to control something. And I said in that group, I said something about like, well, I'm a perfectionist. And I almost kind of said it with like pride, you know, like I always have to do things in like a certain way, and like I always drive for perfection and whatever. And this friend of mine that was in the group, that I actually got to know through the group because I didn't really know her before that, she like, I think she interrupted me even, or when I was done, she like said something, and we would talk like directly to each other. Like we would say, well, Peter, I disagree with this. It wasn't like a 12-step meeting where you didn't cross-talk, because in 12-step meetings, we don't cross-talk. I don't know what you've seen on TV shows, but we don't cross-talk. You don't tell somebody in a meeting, like, I don't agree with your opinion or your share. Like, you just don't do that. But in this group, we did, because it was just a literature group. And so she said to me, she said, Peter, I have to disagree with what you're saying. And I said, okay. And she goes, this whole idea of perfectionism comes from an idea where we don't believe in a higher power. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And I don't remember exactly how she said it, so I'm probably just like missing it completely. But she said, you know, when we think that we're perfectionists, basically what we're doing is playing God. And that we think that we can do things perfectly when there is nothing that we can do as perfect as our higher power. And as a person in recovery, I do have a higher power and I do believe in God and things like that, right? And so for me, it was like such this eye-opening moment. I was like, am I trying to play God in those moments? Whether it's trying to get my stuffed animal set up straight or make my bed perfectly, like, who do I think like it's nothing is ever going to be perfect. Even if you make the bed perfectly and you step away from it and you look at it and you go, oh wow, the bed looks perfect, there's still going to be something that's messed up with it. Like you could turn the pillow again, or the one blanket is like, you know, off kilter or something like that. There's always going to be something wrong with it. So there is no perfectionism to it, right? And I thought about that and I thought, God, she's so right. And what really it allowed me to do was kind of like give in to imperfection and allow myself to make mistakes and allow myself to not have this incessant need to try to be perfect all the time, because I would do that. Like I would drive myself crazy and I'd be like, well, I didn't do this well enough, or I didn't do that well enough, or whatever, you know? Now, the flip side of that is I don't dust as much as I used to. I don't straighten up the kitchen as much as I used to, because I kind of just let some of that go. But what I also realized, and I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with this, is it just really doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't really matter if I dust this week or next week. It'll get dusted eventually. You know, I'm looking over at this table because I'm thinking it needs to be dusted. But, you know, it's like eventually it'll get done. Eventually it'll get dusted. And so I kind of just like fell into the imperfection of it all. Now I don't let my house go to crap. I still make my bed every day. You know, I still straighten up my clothes and on my little couch next to my bed, and I do laundry, and, you know, I clean up the kitchen every single day. I straighten up the kitchen so it's nice and clean and whatever, you know, and water my plants. And I do the best I can. But I'm not so driven to try to be this perfect example of something, because I'm never going to be that. I'm never going to be a perfect example of anything, because I'm not perfect. You know, and if I truly do believe in living in a God-centered world, or having a higher power, or even if you just believe in the universe, right? Like the workings of the universe are 10 times more perfect than we will ever be. And so, you know, it's like, there's no magic to it, you know, like this whole idea of me trying to be perfect and not make mistakes is ridiculous. You know, I'm going to make mistakes. And, you know, one of the things that's really cool is like if you've ever watched like a kid or somebody make a mistake, right? And then they kind of become aware of it, and then they realize it, and then they kind of like fix it, and then they learn, and like you can see the process in their head of like figuring out like what they did and how to learn. Like it's the coolest thing in the world, right? And so if you become open to learning from your mistakes, if you become open to the imperfection in life and allowing yourself to realize you're not going to always do things perfectly, it also allows you to do things differently and realize there is no one perfect way to do things. There's 50 different ways or 100 million different ways to do things, right? There's no one perfect way to clean the kitchen. There's no perfect way to make the bed, you know? There's no perfect way to water the plants. There's 100,000 different ways. And when you open yourself up to that, it allows you to have a little bit more of an exciting life, even if it's just doing mundane chores around the house, you know? And so I think this whole idea of being driven to perfection so much is really this need to try to control ourselves. If we're somebody that grew up like I did in a lot of chaos, my need to like, and you know, we have all these names for it now, OCD and all this kind of stuff, right? But like, I think a lot of it was my need to try to control situations that I thought I could control because I lived in chaos. And what I find now is when I have any kind of chaos come into my life, my immediate response to that is try to control something. Because if I can control something, then I feel like I have control over certain situations in my life, which ultimately I don't. I don't have control over chaotic situations in my life, I just don't. So anyway, that was a great meditation. I think I'm just going to stop there for today and not read the other one. But anyway, let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.